This has this much power. Let's keep exploring that. And I understood that that was it. That was my mission. I'd be a super successful person. Like I've had super successful people coming in and telling me that, yeah, I have all these houses and all of these cars and everything I want. I have this successful business. But when I was younger, I really wanted to be a musician, and I never stuck with it. And he's like, "But you do." And he's like, I wish I stuck with it. Like I wish I really did. And now I have all of this, but I'm not as happy as when I was pursuing my dream. Never stop believing in your dream. Always keep the eyes on the prize and work as hard as you can to make it happen. And it's going to be yours.
Today, we had a chance to sit down with the exceptional Kostia Lukyniuk, a first-generation American violinist whose talent knows no bounds. Kostia's violin melody resonates with fusion of cultural richness and innovative flair. Join us as we uncover the story behind his music, exploring his journey as a first-generation artist, navigating the intersection of identity and artistry. Kostia, welcome to the show.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy, your schedule. I follow you. You're like all over the place.
Man, I gotta keep my mission going. It's a great one that I've been given in my life, and Miami is the place to be, man. There's so much opportunity, so many different people who have different musical needs, who want different type of entertainment, and a lot of people are moving in here, like new people coming every day from all over the world, from all over the U.S. So it's definitely a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Tell me about, you mentioned mission. What that means exactly?
My mission, I believe that everybody has a mission in their lives, and I would say, fulfilling that mission is like our most important job, most important task to do here. In my opinion, that's why you see a lot of people who have not found their mission, or who have found a mission but they don't identify with it fully. You see them kind of fall into depression or any type of a thing like that. So thankfully, my mission was very clear to me since I was a little kid, because I was kind of pushed into music, and I would say I was probably around 8 years old when I saw the first time the way that my music can move people's emotions. Like, I was a little kid, but I could see that there was, nothing happening, and then there was a person, then I came in with just my violin. I did something, and that person, an adult person, started crying, or that person started, became happy or started dancing or whatever it was. But crying is probably like the most striking one. And so I was 8 years old and I saw it. And it wasn't because of anything else but my music. And so when I saw that, I was like, that's very, very powerful. And having that is just a gift that I have to hone, and I have to improve and make as best as it can be to serve the people.
So you remember vividly that moment?
Yeah, I actually do. Yeah, I know exactly when it happened. It was me and my brother were actually playing. I have a brother, a younger brother, and he plays violin as well. Marky, shout out. Yeah, we were playing together, and it was a lady who was listening to us, and we just played a piece. I think it was a waltz that we played, and she just started crying. And so seeing that as a little kid, and seeing a grown-up woman, crying because of nothing else, there was nothing else going on. No, nobody was scaring her. She wasn't watching a movie. It wasn't. It was just the music. And I was like, if this has this much power, let's keep exploring that. And I understood that that was it. That was my mission.
When times get tough, when you're like debating, when you have hard times about anything, do you go back to that moment?
Yeah, in a way. I've had since then. I've had like multiple moments that happened like that that has confirmed that this is definitely the path for me, and this is the way for me to kind of give back, to God, the gifts that He has given to me. So like, because it's not for me. I know, and I've figured it out that this talent is not for me to enjoy. It's for other people to enjoy. Obviously, like, I mean, I can play for myself, but there's no real fulfillment in that. I play for myself, obviously, like I practice, I explore different things. All of the things that are happening, in my musical journey, obviously, like I had to go and explore them actively and, build those new connections and stuff like that. But that's not fulfillment. Fulfillment for me is to share it. So only when it's shared and only when it's received, actually. Because I can share it with a bunch of people, but if they don't receive it, then I don't feel fulfillment.
Because you're gonna have the feedback from people.
Yes, they have to receive it. There has to become, yeah, I have to establish that sort of like an energy full circle loop. And when it happens, it's like one of the most amazing things ever. And for me, that's where I feel the most fulfilled. I understand that I had to be here in this moment to do this for these people, and yeah, and I understand that my mission is to just figure out how to do it the most effectively and how to bring it to the most amount of people possible, because it's a very sort of unique niche thing that I'm doing. Like, not many people are professional musicians. It's a very small percentage of the population. But some people have to do it because there are people who are CEOs of big financial institutions, or like politicians or presidents, who have their favorite artist or have their favorite album or have been to their favorite concert. They would do everything. They would, like, whatever, risk their life coming with a convoy of bodyguards to come see this specific guy do his thing, whatever it is. It might be, and it's any type of art. It could be a theater art. It could be an opera. It could be a martial art. There's some people, like presidents coming in to see a UFC fight. It has happened before, so it's like that. And so music is one of those mediums, and doing it professionally and providing those moments of relief for people is my mission. And I see it time and time again when I see these big people, playing at, some of the most prestigious gala events and fundraising events, where it's really tough to get there. So the people who get there, it's a very specific type and level of people. And playing for them, I understand that, for most of their life, they have to sort of be in a role of the senator type, whatever, or a CEO, this Johnson, or pause, or or a deputy, whatever, or a judge, that guy, and they live in that role every day, most of the time. But there's some moments, especially like, there's some times where I come really close to those people and they let me come close. And actually with my instrument, it's a very unique instrument in that way, because it lets me, it's very small and very mobile. I'm able to come up to people really, really close, and I'm able to bridge that personal space gap, and they let me. Even people who I don't know their names, or if this is the first time I meet them, they let me, and I come up really close to them, and I see in that moment they're not senators. They're just John, Bill, Maria, whatever. They're just people, just people trying to have fun and loosening up, and they see me and they see that I'm not, I don't mean any harm. I'm not just there to scam somebody. I'm not just there for money. Like, I'm there to really create that moment. And when they see that, they feel, they loosen up, and we create these amazing moments. And that's what music is all about. It's not about playing those right notes. It's not about making the prettiest sound possible. It's about activating that emotional response in people and having those emotions shine through, and creating that, influencing them, and telling them that it's okay to just let go and do whatever feels right, in the moment.
So people react differently when you go to different venues, or let's say back home in Ukraine and here. Do you have different kind of response from people, or you play different music? How do you approach that?
Yeah, it's true. Everybody's different. Every person is different, and every single, event is different. It's going to be in a different setting. It's going to be a different type of crowd. So that's also a part of my job, and it's a skill that I have required actually through doing a lot of street performances all over Europe, in Ukraine, in Europe, in U.S., in Canada, all over the world. So I've done it, and I see how people respond to different cues, to different types of music, and it's easier for me to gauge my audience now. So when I come in, I prepare. I don't prepare anything. I have a set of music that I can play, or I can play anything. Like, people can give me a request, I find it on the internet. I play it for them, and I play it on top of it with the violin. So all of that is a skill that I have required, throughout multiple different experiences that I've had, and it's important for me. It's very important to adapt to my listener, because, as I said, it's for the audience. It's not for me. So it's a type of service that I love providing. It's a service. So I want to serve the person the best that I can, because the person is already there, and it might be anything. Because sometimes, obviously, like, people hire me to do, provide entertainment for their thing, but sometimes I create my own experiences, where I create my own concerts where people can come in. So it's all these settings are different, but my goal is always the same, is to get that emotion. So I always have to fine tune it towards my audience. And even when they play the same song, it's always different for me. Like, there's some songs that I've played for like thousands of times, but it's always different for me, and it can even change during the song depending on who I'm playing for. Like, say I'm playing for you, it's going to be way different, because you're a nice Serbian guy, so it's going to be different than if I would play for like an 80-year-old Asian grandma, like, different, or like a little kid, a little 5-year-old boy. So it would be way different, or like if I see, it just depends. Everything is telling me, because I always try to read a person, and everything is telling me about kind of what that person might like potentially. I mean, it's all based on kind of social cues and maybe stereotypes and whatever, but it usually works, and it works in a way, because, okay, say in the same situation, if I would talk to that person, like, I would speak differently to you than I would speak to, I don't know, a 20-year-old beautiful Venezuelan girl, like, definitely it would be a different way of communicating, and music is communication. So that's what I figured out for myself, is you obviously cannot just play it the same way for everybody, which there's a lot of musicians who do that. There's a lot of musicians who just come in and they play the way they have practiced thousands of times back home, and they just come in and they perform, and they perform usually for themselves. They're like, okay, this is what I can do, look at me. But for me, I have a way different approach. Is I come in and it's for the person. So I find a person that I can connect with. Sometimes I make eye contact, and I play for you. I'm not just playing to play, because I don't need that. Like, I can to play at home for myself.
Yes. I mean, a lot of artists, a lot of people doing anything. Especially for you said you're a street performer, so you perform on the street.
I used to, yeah, a lot.
How do you fight your ego and says, okay, I'm not gonna be in a big hall. I'm not gonna be a great violinist playing some for a specific kind of crowd. You know, is it a problem for a lot of musicians?
I mean, yeah. So especially for classical musicians, it's a big problem for them to get out of that mentality, which actually just cages them to pretty much only one type of outcome for most of the people is work in an orchestra. Which, yeah, you're in a hall, whatever, but you're playing whatever everybody else is playing. You're playing what the conductor is telling you to play. Like, it's pretty much office job for a musician. And for a lot of violinists, that's their only way of doing things because they're taught to read music. And I call those types of musicians reproducers. They're taught to reproduce what's there. But they're not musicians. They cannot be artists. They cannot create music out of thin air. If you give them an instrument, just tell them, play whatever, or play. There's a rain, play rain, or there's this song playing here right now, play it. They cannot do it because they're not taught. They don't have those skills. And but for me, I love expressing myself. So for me, it doesn't really matter where it is. So obviously, like I've performed on streets and I've performed on big open doors stages.
Everything is a stage.
Yeah, everything is a stage. Like I've performed for 5 people and I've performed for 5,000 people on a stage on a stadium.
Is there a big difference in emotions for you? How do you focus on a couple of people? You cannot focus on 5,000 people for sure. How do you do in that situation?
I try to focus on the moment, like I try to never lose focus on the moment, and I try to see the most interesting people that are there, and I'm trying to always, that's my intention is to do it for them. Like my intention is not to show off, my intention is not to play music, my intention is to make those people feel something, because from what I know from human psychology and from different experiences that I've had and different people that I've questioned after my performances and other performances. People don't usually remember what exactly were you playing. They don't know what key was the song in, how many songs did you play. They don't remember that. They don't remember what composers, usually they don't. They don't remember what notes exactly were you playing, what octave were you playing at, how much bow were you using, like these specific details. They don't remember how many out of tune notes you played. People usually don't remember any of that. The only thing they remember is they remember how you made them feel in that moment. So they remember, oh, I felt like this. People would tell me, oh, you remember you played this song? I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember I played that song. Oh, it was so good. It was so amazing. I'm like, oh, you just heard it. You just heard me play it today. Can you just, can you hum me the melody of the song? They will not be able to. They don't know. Like, it's a simple melody that, I can hum, obviously, because I played the song. But people don't remember it. And that song, for them, it made such an impact. They're like, oh, my God, I felt so good after it. I'm like, do you remember the song, really? They don't. But they remember the feeling.
So the feeling is what matters.
Exactly. And that's what matters the most for me at least. I mean, there are different factors that you have to factor in a performance. Obviously, you have to look good. Obviously, you have to have top-notch gear and equipment, so that consequently you can make the best type of sound that you can potentially make. Obviously, as a professional, you're going to be able to do better things on a $10,000 violin than a $200 violin.
Of course.
So that matters, obviously. Obviously, it matters for you to play the right notes. Obviously, it matters for you to, presentation, everything. All of these things do matter. But for me, my top goal is the feeling of the people, because that's what I think the music communicates. And now that I'm kind of discovering all of that and analyzing it through the lens of my past experiences, now I can see that, maybe at that time when I was a little kid, when I saw a lady cry after I played, I think maybe that's what showed it to me. It wasn't that she was just so amazed with my technique. It wasn't that she was just so amazed with my sound, or she really liked the way I looked cool or something. It wasn't that. It was that feeling.
Feeling you. So feelings, I mean, everyone's guided by feelings.
Yeah.
You are, especially you're a musician, and you're Ukrainian growing up, and you had the feeling that, like, okay, I have to move on, I have to go somewhere else, I have to do more stuff. Walk me through that feeling.
Always, man. Always, actually. I've always had that feeling. I was like, this is too small for me. I'm not meant for this. I'm meant for way bigger things. And, growing up in Ukraine, I was very rigorously classically trained as a musician. And I was growing up as, you might characterize as a prodigy. I've been on stage since I was a really, really young kid. When I was 9, I had my first debut with the orchestra as a solo performer. And since then, I performed almost every year with orchestra multiple times. With different orchestras, I would tour the country, do different competitions, different performances. So there was a point where, I was a teenager and I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, this is my town. Okay, I like it. Obviously, like, I love performing for my people. But what's next? Going to the capital, to Kiev, sure. I went there. I did a couple performances. I'm like, what's next?
Just get bored really quick. You gotta level up fast.
Yeah, I mean, and for, okay, I'm not really sure what the economic situation in Serbia is or whatever, but for any country with the subpar economic system, I would say, with the big discrepancy between, the rich and the poor or whatever, with the small middle class, for them, those people, the majority of the people, they are not really focused on the arts.
It's difficult when you're focusing on put food on the table.
Exactly.
It's tough to focus on the arts.
Exactly. Like, you do that, you focus on clothes, you focus on shelter, you focus on many of these things. And, for a country where, I don't know, like the medium salary for us, it's like $300 or $400 a month.
That's not good in general.
That's like the usual, So like nobody really is thinking about going to a concert that much, paying money for that especially, or hiring a private musician for your event. Like, not many people can afford that, and consequently, there's less opportunity, obviously, because there's less economic opportunity. So I saw it very, very early on. And when I was 15, there was a big opportunity that presented itself to me. There was a Ukrainian concert violinist, Oleg Krysa, who was on tour in Ukraine. And I was able to get a meeting with him and play for him. And he actually just retired. He was a professor at Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. And he told me, after you're done with high school, come to America with me, study with me. And I had that opportunity. So since I was 15, I knew it. I was like,
you knew it was coming.
I'm going there. Yes, I was preparing myself. I was really, I had something to strive for. And I saw that, okay, this thing that I'm doing, yeah, I knew that this was my mission, but look at all the opportunities that it gives me. Like, I'm able to go from a little small town in Ukraine to America. Come on. America.
Sky's the limit.
Exactly. I mean, no matter what the what the Americans are saying about America, America is the greatest, like.
Yeah, because they are on the top of the mountain in some way. So you're thinking there's, it's not good enough, but if you...
I mean, it might be harsh, but, sometimes I see people here who are like, kind of failed in life or whatever, or are homeless and stuff like that. And it's not like I'm judging anybody, but I'm just saying that you had the thing that I'm still actually fighting for. You had the most precious thing, American passport. You had it, man. Like, I'm busting my ass off to make sure that that's going to be a reality for me at some point in my life. And I know it will be, but things like that, That's amazing. So I knew about it, and I knew about America. Obviously, like I've seen movies and everything. So I was preparing for it since I was 15, and when I was 18, I was able to come.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I want to touch upon that, as you said earlier, but people in general are programmed to desire, not to appreciate. So people having past, or when you have something,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's normal. After a while, it gets normal. Whatever you have, whoever
Yeah.
you are, is you're not grateful enough for things you have, and that's everyone can be put to blame on for that. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what stage
Yeah.
of life, what do you have. So you got to work on it. But the thing is, even some things that you have in US, let's say you had those things back home, but you don't have them here. So there's always some kind of trade-off.
Yes.
So is there what's the something big that you miss from back home that you don't have in US?
I would say it's hard for me to, because I don't know. I would say maybe friends, like my real friends from back home. I miss them, but a lot of them actually now moved on because of the war. A lot of them are in Europe now, so that's something that I miss. Um, Cheap stuff.
It's I think life is cheap, especially if you come from US, you go home.
Yeah,
It's
but
it's a big difference.
there's nothing that I actually like miss that much that I would be like, oh my god, that was a bad trade-off. Like I would rather pay more for my stuff because I would make more money here.
Yeah, for sure. You make more money, but that's why it's more expensive here. But on the other hand, I just last week two of us were meeting and they were like, "Oh, buy some bread before you come to my house." I went to the bakery in the neighborhood. I paid $7 for a loaf of bread, and I was like, "I know we make more money,
Yeah,
but is it this much?
This was
A loaf of bread? It's not like it's okay. It's
Yeah.
not amazing, but $7 for a loaf of
Yeah,
bread." So I was
yeah.
like, "Yes, we do make more money, but it can't be that expensive."
Yeah. Well, that actually brings it to okay. So there are two things that I kind of miss. It's possible to get here, but it's not as easy. Good quality food, like fast, like going into like a little buffet, and having like a little old lady serve you like
Yeah,
the
that's-
best homemade stuff for just pennies, like that you can't get it. And you can get food for pennies, but it's going to be fast food, which is really bad. But you would have homemade food. So that I miss, and women, obviously. Like Ukrainian women, it's a big scare. It's not as scarce in here. There's some, but it's big, man. It's big. Like I appreciate it, and when I see a nice Ukrainian girl, it's like, man, there's not just all of them like everywhere, like back home. Like you have to deal with American girls here sometimes, so it's
So there's always stuff,
yeah. That's
what-
definitely I miss that.
I mean, there's a difference between mentality back home and here. How much did you change? How did your mentality change when you moved to US and eventually throughout the years? Or did it change at all?
It did change. It did change. Definitely, I definitely became way more focused and way more driven and way more productive. It was just because you do something and you get not a reward, but like an output right away. Like you get either paid or you get something created. And there's some things that you are able to do that are so streamlined in here, like things like Amazon. Like there's no Amazon back home. Here there is, and it's not even just because of Amazon, but it's because of there's access to such specific little things that you can get in a matter of days. And for me, it was really important because those specific little things really mattered to my profession, such as like violin pickups to electrify your violin. Like I was able to try all of them here in America. Back home, I would not be able to at all. And that's something that directly affects my output in the world. It literally directly affects the way I sound, the way my violin sounds. So like things like that, like real little accessories for my professional life that I was able to get like this instantly. So it was that, man. It was just the ability to, yeah, you can do it like this, and you can do it with such quality and such professionalism. It was the professionalism that I saw it here. I saw the possibility for it, and I saw the rewards that you get if you really put in the time if you really care about your output and care about the quality of service that you provide to the people, you're gonna get rewarded. People love that. People love it here. You give people back home. They want cheaper, cheaper. They don't care if it's shitty or they want the cheapest stuff. Here there's a lot of people. They want the best stuff.
Doesn't
They
matter how
want,
much it costs.
yeah, they want it to cost more. They don't want to pay $300 for cheap musicians to come in. They want to pay a couple thousand to have. Look, I have the best musician. They tell it to their friends. They're like, listen, like we could have cheaped out, but no, we got the best. So you have that moment because people really, since not, obviously there's different economic, levels in here, but there's more people with more money. Like there's way more middle class. It obviously still exists. I mean, obviously, like there was different,
caps,
different caps and like different wealth transfers during like all the lockdowns and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I know it. But still, there is middle class. So people here, they're not thinking about survival that much. So they're able to be like, I want to enjoy the moments. I want to get the best thing that I like. And people who like music, they want to get the best music. People who like cars, they want to get the best car. People and it's a possibility here. For the majority of people, it's a possibility. For the majority of people back home, it's not even on their mind. They're like, so I would say the thing that changed for me is that complete widening of my outlook on life. I'm like, that's possible, and this is possible, and that is possible. Everything is possible. Like you just do it.
You just have that feeling.
And back home is like, yeah, but you can't do it like that. Oh yeah, you don't have those
people
connections.
around you will tell you also.
Yeah.
They'll tell you it's not possible.
Crabs in a bucket.
Crabs in the bucket.
Yep.
That's a great way to put it. But coming here is just, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
you gotta go through a lot of stuff, a lot of difficulties, and whatever. What worked for you when you went through difficult moments?
I would say keeping my eyes on the goal always worked. And I remember there was one. I really like. Okay, what I really like is, I'm 24, and growing up I was here from like 18 to 24. I was here. Most of the time I was traveling back home, but I was here. And the biggest thing that I found for myself, one of the biggest things that I love doing, is conversating with older guys who are successful and who have done something, who have established, some sort of a business.
It's a mentoring in some ways.
Yeah. And just getting to know their perspective on life in a very friendly way. And it has happened to me a lot, multiple times, where older guys, they just kind of like, oh, this kid, like, he wants to do it, like, and they want to hang out. They see it, and they can give you like 30 years worth of experience in 5 minutes because they just want to. They like, oh, I want to give it to
share,
him. Yeah, and it's there's no catch, there's no anything. They feel good doing it.
But they see themselves in you, maybe?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes they're like, oh, you're like our adopted son or whatever. Like, I've had this happen, and I love this experience so much because they give me the answer to some of their failures, or like the answer to some of my questions right away. And you just need to be smart enough to pick up on those little nuggets.
And implementing, you're like,
yes,
just listening, it's not gonna do the job, You think, but you got to work on it every day.
Exactly, and so like that's what I see. And so one of those nuggets that I got from a businessman here, it was that like it's like, okay, it's like, like those things in an amusement park where there's like a bull and it's like a shaky ground or something like that. He's telling me is like, when you're in that type of a situation, like when you stand on a shaky ground, if you start looking everywhere, you're gonna fall. But if you find something really far, one little dot that you can focus on, you're going to keep your balance because you're focused on something really, really far. You're focused on that goal. So it's the same with life. It's like, yeah, it might be shaky, but if you're not focusing on like, oh, it pulled me this way or it pulled me that way, if you're not focused on that little movement, that little shaking, if you're just focused on that goal, then you're going to be able to, it doesn't really matter that it shakes. You're going to be able to move with it, but you know that the goal is there. So yeah, I would say that was the biggest thing that kind of kept me going is like I knew that there's a mission to my life. Like there's something that I need to fulfill here, like a purpose, and I know it like 100%, and I know that it was given to me, and I see it every time, like when something happens, when like you give some sort of a relief to a person that wanted, and they come up and they share it with you. They're like, oh my God, I like needed this today, or this changed my day today, or like I see like an unrealized my own unrealized potential in you, or whatever it might be. It might be a super successful person. Like I've had super successful people coming in and telling me that, yeah, I have all these houses and all of these cars and everything I want. I have this successful business. But when I was younger, I really wanted to be a musician, and I never stuck with it. And he's like, but you do. And he's like, I wish I stuck with it. Like, I wish I really did. And now I have all of this, but I'm not as happy as when I was pursuing my dream. So, yeah, so you give that sort of, like some people kind of live vicariously through you because it's such a rarity where you are, because I'm completely in it. Like I'm completely in music. There was nothing that I ever did for money rather than music. Like nothing else. Like I've only survived through music. I got to America through music. I got back to America after the war, because when the war started, I was back home in Ukraine. I got back to America because of music. I got saved from a draft because of music, because they drafted me. I was already in the recruitment center. I was already signed all the papers. I was already ready to get shipped out. I got saved because of the acceptance letter from that accepted me into their music master's program. So I can see, the way music has guided my life, and I'm able to stay with it, and I'm able to just completely immerse myself in it.
Staying truthful to yourself and your dreams. And,
yes.
And music gave you a lot. You gave it a lot to music. Also, music gave back to you. But everyone, every majority of people have jobs they don't like. Majority. So when they see you doing stuff that you like, or someone else is doing something they like,
yes,
it's kind of they're trying to get out of their cycle. They're inspired by you. They see some. Let's say you mentioned that person that wanted to be a musician. Here, like they're seeing themselves doing things that you do, and they can make millions of dollars, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that was their dream, and if you let go of your dream, that's never good. What's American dream for you?
American dream is, I would say, is creating that service that you're proud of in the most quality possible way, and giving it out to the biggest amount of people. So that's the American dream for me. It's not that all of that people think is American dream is a consequence of, but the American dream is that ability to create your business and to create your business out of your passion. So the person might be, like, I know a good friend of mine, he created a company called Slice, and it's a company that specializes in those box openers. And he has created an enormous amount of wealth from box openers. And
it's also simple, but it's not.
It's amazing. It's amazing because he's like, okay, if I'm going to sell box openers, I'm going to sell the best box openers, and I'm going to sell them in all shapes and sizes and anything that you might imagine. So that's just like a one example, like from literally a person that is my friend. But you can do anything you want in here, and there is no communist government that's going to take it away from you. like in many countries still to this day, there's, there's fairly, there's the most amount of freedom you can potentially get in the world for you to really be able to make it. So that's the American dream for me, is like you have that service, you want to provide it to the people, and then you also have the ability to provide it in the most quality way possible because there's all the resources here.
And also, there's owning a business. This country is making you own a business because you don't pay almost no taxes when you own a
Yes.
business. I mean, you pay some, but it's way less than when you're working for someone. They take away,
Yes.
a lot. So that's a big thing. So let's say you meet Kostya from the first day when you arrived in the U.S. and you want to talk to him. You have like a couple of minutes. What advice would you give it to him, just to help him with his upcoming journey?
I would say this. I would say never stop believing in your dream. Always keep the eyes on the prize and work as hard as you can to make it happen. And it's going to be yours.
So, yeah, it's just working a lot, but it doesn't feel like work when you're doing something that you like.
Exactly. But you still have to treat it as such in a way that you want to maximize the quality every time. You want to maximize the output. You want to, so in a way, what it taught me, like being here in America, it taught me a lot about business. Even though I don't really learn about business in school. In school, they were teaching me how to play my instrument. But I learned a lot about business just by doing business with a lot of people and by having businessmen friends and by just hanging out with a lot of people. And everything is business. Everything in the world is a selling thing, a selling tactic. You sell yourself all the time. You wear the clothes that you wear to sell yourself, to market. Everything is a market and a selling and a demand and supply and demand. So all these things that you don't really think about, you don't really get taught about. As a musician, you don't get taught all of these things, but it's so simple and it's unavoidable. It's everywhere in the world. So learning about that's America for me. Yeah.
I mean, people don't understand the dedication. People that play violin or any kind of other instrument. One of my sisters, she started playing violin. She was 7.
Yes.
I think 6 or 7. She's been playing all day, every
Every day, yes.
She's 19 now, actually 20, and she's in the second year in academy. She just keep playing from the 6, 7 in the morning till the end of the night. So
Wow.
Would you have any advice for her for the future?
I say keep it going, but also don't forget. That's one of the biggest advices that one of my professors gave me is like, don't forget to have a life, because as a musician, some musicians, they forget to have a life and they live in a practice room and they become very proficient in their instrument, but that's not the only skill that you need in life to succeed as a musician. That's only one of the skills that only can get you in the door. But there's also, obviously like your technique playing, but there's also your personality. There's also your social skills. There's also your business skills, like networking, like marketing yourself, creating your own brand. So there's so many other things that you have to think about. And if one of your skills is up here and all of them are down here, there's no way you're going to succeed. So try to focus on maximizing all of the different facets of you, and also have a life. Be interesting. Be an interesting person, because our job, like most of the jobs, is a people job. So you're always going to be working with people, for people. People are going to be working for you. So it's always going to be a teamwork. So you have to become really good at communication. And what I see, a lot of musicians, they get into this trap of, I just have to become the best musician possible. They see all of these, especially now, it's oversaturated with such amazing talents. And you see all of these like 3-year-old kids in Japan, kill the concerto that you've been working on for half a year, and you still can't get it, So you see all of that, and you might get into a world understanding where you have to just keep practicing, get better, only at one thing. But there's so much more to you to become a musician, and some people just squander those years, the younger years, where they have to learn how to socialize, where they have to learn the skill of selling. You have to know how to sell. No matter what you're doing, you have to be able to sell.
Sales is everything.
Sales is everything. If you go to an interview, job interview, you sell
You gotta
yourself.
sell yourself to in a way.
Of course, of course. You're selling yourself to a partner. You're selling yourself to anybody. Anything that you want to get in life, you're always selling. So I would say for any musician and for your sister, like, keep focusing on all of these facets. Try to learn a lot about business. Try to learn a lot about communication, about people's skills, about negotiation. That's going to come in really important in your life. Negotiating your salary, negotiating your one-time rate if you're doing any type of gigs, which as a musician you're going to be doing gigs. Negotiating your rate as a teacher, anything. Everything is a negotiation. So learning about that is one of my biggest advices, and obviously you got to play good. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. But this is what differentiates you from all of the other kids, because everybody is there sitting and everybody is there practicing. Some people are better, some people are worse, but everybody's putting in that work. Some people put in more work, but not many people, they get out in the real world and they become real people. And in academies, and I know how it is, especially in the undergrad, there's 4 years that you can get in a cycle of just sitting in a practice room for hours, for 4 or 5 hours every day. You're just in solitary, just you and your instrument. And it might make you really antisocial. And I see people like that, and you don't really want to work with people like that. You do those people, it's just really hard to work with people like that, really hard to connect. So no matter how big your skill on your instrument is going to be, if your social skills are subpar, it's going to substantially limit your possibilities
That's never
in
good.
life.
You hone your skills so many hours,
Yes.
and if you can sell that skill to someone and make it's all not only in vain, but it should be worth way more.
Yeah, it should. It's because, see, in school they don't really talk to us about that.
No, in general in schools they don't teach you life.
No,
They teach you,
no,
they
no, they
teach us
don't.
a lot of topics, and you might like something, you might not. Most people don't like anything, and then they get lost later in life. So you just do something to make money, and then one thing leads to another, and ultimately, that's why people are not happy. But that's one of the reasons. There's always something. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself all over the world, touring with my band, with multiple different projects that I have. But mostly I'm going to focus on my band project and creating a show for everybody to come in and enjoy a violin-led show. Like there's been, not many, but there's been some people. It's a very niche thing, but there's been some people who have done wonders in this niche where they would create these shows that would fill arenas, and the guy who does it is a violinist. It's not a singer, it's not a guitarist, it's not a trumpet player, it's not a rapper. It's a violinist who leads this whole experience, because violin is that expressive of an instrument, and I believe it deserves to be presented in such way in big stages. And some people like that you might know, maybe like Vanessa May or David Garrett, very popular in Europe, or here in America, Lindsey Sterling. Everybody talks about her. They all have their own niche and their own way of doing it. So I have a very unique vision for this because of just the vastness of my repertoire of different genres that I can perform and create. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be touring the world and presenting to the people all of these different types of music from different eras, from different communities, in one show on the violin, where there's no words, there's no anything. There's just a show for the people, and it would be completely family friendly. A lot of people are doing this, so. This is one of the things, and then also I see myself also releasing a lot of original music that I'm working on, because I've been producing some tracks, some original tracks lately, myself, and also with other producers, where I work in tandem with somebody else, and we produce like a piece of music together. And all of that is to, fulfill my mission, is just for that violin, is to put the violin in all of these different circumstances and all of these different genres, and to propel it, because I believe that violin deserves to be there. Just the same way as like people are, or kids are getting excited about a guitar or anything like that. Violin deserves to be there too, because it's a very unique instrument.
You believe in it, so I think it's gonna happen for sure. Talk to me about your band.
My band, Lucky Band. It's a for now it's a four-piece band. At some point, I'm gonna get a keyboard player, but it's me in the front. It's a guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer. So it's a very basic combination, but we can play a lot of different genres of music just with that. We arrange some classical music into like this type of a thing. We play Ukrainian folk music. We play like jazz. We play rock, like real rock music, or we play like pop music with this type of just arrangement. And it's great. It's amazing because a lot of the times I play with like pre-recorded tracks. I play with DJs and like produced music, and it's great. I love it. But there's just something about that live interaction between the musicians, where I can play a solo and my guitars can like respond back or something like that, or we have like a drum solo. So there's just a lot of possibilities in there. And so yeah, all of my guys are from the university, the really top level musicians. For now, our biggest performance that we did a performance with the Ukrainian rock star Oleg Skripka, who is like one of the biggest Ukrainian rock stars. He came in here. He came in with nothing, with no instrument, with no anything, no band. We performed with him. He asked me for a band, so we performed with him at one big festival. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are planned for the future. Planning to do a lot of solo shows and just improving this concept that I have, just improving it and making it just more and more effective.
Talk to me about social awkwardness. You interact with a lot of people. Not everyone's comfortable with talking. You probably have your own issues throughout the years, getting acquainted with different people, talking, getting yourself out there, interacting with new people every day. How many people? Any advice for someone who has issues with something like that?
So, yeah. So I wasn't always able to talk to everybody. I wasn't always like super open. When the lockdowns happened, I was in Rochester, New York. It was pretty rough. So my social skills were not really used much. And honestly, like growing up, I wasn't really from a family like that attended many social gatherings or anything like that. My dad is a priest, so we were more reserved in that way. Like we have never been to any like outings together in restaurants or done any parties or anything like that. That's never been a thing. So I haven't been really trained in that. And then coming here to America, I was a student in a student environment, so it was different. It was not the real world. And then, but also I always wanted to get out of the school, so I was always outside selling myself, obviously, like selling my product. And being in the real world, it gave me those, at least the understanding that I should work on it. So like I started seeing like the way people respond to me. If I do this is how they respond. If I do that. So at first it was just trial and error. And then I actually started, especially when I moved here to Miami, I started researching it a lot. So I started, kind of listening to podcasts about it, reading books about it, about communication.
It's work.
Exactly. And there's some things that you should definitely do. There's some things that you should definitely don't do, and it's just experience. It comes with experience. It comes with just doing it and trying different things. And so, what I would recommend is get out there and get the experience. Try to talk to people. Try to keep the conversation. Figure out some phrases, some little things that you can have in the back of your mind that you can always steer the conversation somewhere. There's a cool book that I have read. I listened to it as an audiobook. It's called How to Talk to Anyone. There's like 92 rules or something like that. It's a really cool book where they explain, she puts it in like little rules, like the rule about eye contact, the rule about posture, the rule about like always have something, like if say you go to a social gathering, always have something unique, like a unique piece of clothing or like a unique like brush, or anything, like a little piece of jewelry. There's something unique, which is the what's that factor, so that everybody's like, oh, what's that? Or like a unique pair of glasses or something like that. That's how you get to talk to people. Or notice other people's what's that. Like you see something unusual on a person, come up to them and just be like, hey, what's that? So it's like, so it's all about, that experience. Now people don't experience that. Now people have more screen contact than eye contact.
Yeah, it's definitely changing. Everyone's on their phones. You're not interacting enough, and then you have to like interact with someone. It's an awkward situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have that problem that much, but I understand that it's not like it's easy. It's easy, not easy for anyone. We think see somebody think, oh, he's natural. He's like some people are. But minority of people. Everyone else, they got to do the work. You got to work on it. You got to practice. Sometimes, let's say I don't talk to anyone for like 10 hours or a day by myself at home. It's fine. But then when I pick up the phone, my voice changes completely. And it takes me like 3 minutes to learn how to talk again. So if I talk all the time, then it's easy.
Yeah.
So you got to use whatever. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. Whatever it is, even your social skills.
You're right.
Social skills, definitely.
And I would say even for naturalists, it works like that. Like people who are naturally like more outgoing, if they don't have those interactions, it goes away because it's like a muscle. And so yeah, it's just about working on it and being open to it, and then honestly through social interactions you kind of get to know yourself more. Because you get to know yourself as a person.
If you're talking to yourself, it's not different. But if you say it out loud and some people respond to it, then you get, then you're thinking about it differently. In your head, it looks amazing, and then when you say it out loud, it's like, okay, this is not it.
Yeah. So then you kind of like start fine tuning yourself, and it opens you a lot of things about yourself that you might not know, and it's not a bad thing, like obviously some people like to be like rebellious and like, oh, I'm not going to be like you do, but you still have to be in a part of society, a part of socium.
You do you, but we all have to do some things.
Yes.
Jointly. You can't be completely different from anyone else.
Yeah.
We're still living in the same world together. So,
yeah, exactly. And so like nobody is going to adapt to you. So you got to adapt to society. And you can be whoever you want to be, obviously, but you got to be able to communicate with people. So, and it's a skill, and it's a skill that I didn't used to have as much at all. Like, and then I decided, I was like, I'm going to be that guy. Like, I want to be this guy. Like,
focus on that goal, like you
said.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, but you have to put that goal for yourself. You're like, I want to be this guy. Like, you can maybe use an example of somebody that you know, or create an imaginary version of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be that super Kostia, like, and today I'm that, and I can talk to anybody, and I can get any girl's number, whatever. So it's like, it's that, but it's just so important to do it. It's just so important. Some people don't even think about the importance of socializing, but as I said, like we've been talking about it for the whole podcast, it kind of always went back to that, because that's just my belief, and I've been actually, as I said, researching it and kind of having it in the back of my mind, because I think it's very important, and ability to effectively communicate can literally make or break your dream, because your dream is nothing without other people.
So yeah, I mean, definitely. Though, if we go back to that dream thing, so yeah, I'm thinking right now, is something we missed? Do you want to add something and that we missed? We're almost at the end. So something you want to add? I think we missed something.
I don't know. I mean, I would say I loved this conversation that we had. Definitely, thank you for making it happen.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, I love talking. I love sharing my ideas. And I have I have my own worldview, and I have people who really resonate with it and who like it, and obviously as an artist, I have my own view on my craft, and I'm really glad that I can share it and potentially maybe influence some people. And so if anybody likes what you hear, you guys can follow me. Anybody can chat with me. Find me Kostia Lucky, Kostia Lucky, anywhere. Check out my website, check out my music, and a lot of new cool music coming out very soon. Like, I'm just finishing up all the mixes and everything. But yeah, it's gonna be a great year, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait. I'll see you after a while. Hoping to do this again. We get
Yes.
more things to touch upon and talk about. Thanks again for doing this. It was a pleasure. Have fun.
Likewise.
So please follow Kostia, and thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Peace.
Man. Thanks for doing this. Great.
Right, you guys are breaking hours.
That's
That's it?
yeah.
That was 1 hour.
1 hour.
1 hour.